They said the gods of the Amazon were gone, swallowed by time, forgotten by man. But deep beneath the jungle, something still breathes, and it's waiting to rise again. The Amazon is more than a jungle. It is a memory, one that never sleeps. Every leaf, every root, every drop of rain carries the whisper of something ancient. Most who enter it believe it's just wilderness, but those who listen closely hear the sound of breathing beneath the ground. For centuries, local tribes spoke of the Yara, or Serpent protectors, a bloodline chosen by the gods themselves to guard a secret so sacred, even death was forbidden to approach it. The story begins in 1974, when an expedition led by Dr. Samuel Harker, a British anthropologist obsessed with lost civilizations, entered an unmapped region of the Brazilian Amazon known as Vale das Sombras, the Valley of Shadows. Harker wasn't searching for gold or glory. He was chasing a fragment of parchment found inside an old Jesuit journal dated 1621. It contained crude drawings of serpents carved into stone, and a single Latin inscription, Custodes Deorum Dogmantium, keepers of the sleeping gods. The Jesuit who wrote it vanished weeks later, his entire expedition erased by the jungle, except for that one map. Harker believed that if the legend was real, it could rewrite everything we knew about South American history. He convinced a small crew to follow him to guides, his assistant Maria, and a cameraman named Blake Bailiff. They left the edge of civilization and walked into the green abyss. For 9 days, they trekked deeper than any map dared to show. But on the 10th day, the forest began to change. The trees grew in spirals, twisting toward the sun like coiled serpents. The air grew heavier, thick with an earthy sweetness. And the river beside them began to flow backward. At first, they thought it was an illusion, but as Blake filmed, the current visibly reversed direction, flowing upstream, against gravity, Maria whispered a prayer. The guides refused to move forward, muttering about the breath of Yara, but Harker pressed on, recording every anomaly in his notebook. He didn't know that the jungle had already begun watching them. That night, they made camp beside the river. The jungle was silent, no birds, no insects, only rain. When Blake replayed his footage, he noticed something strange. Between the trees, in the far background, 2 faint orbs glowed, golden and alive. Not reflections, not fire. Eyes. And they blinked. The next morning, one of the guides was gone. No tracks, no blood. Only a pattern carved in the soil where he slept. A perfect circle with a serpent spiraling inward. Maria begged Harker to turn back, but he was too close. He believed the markings pointed to an ancient temple, the one drawn on the Jesuit map. He didn't realize they were standing inside its outer boundary. By dusk, they reached a cliff face carved with massive snake reliefs. Each serpent had 2 heads, one biting the earth, the other reaching for the sky. At the center, a massive stone door bore the same spiral symbol. Harker placed his hand on it and felt something move beneath the surface. The door opened, not outward, but downward, as if swallowed by the ground. A hiss of stale air escaped, carrying the scent of iron and decay. They entered a tunnel lit by faint blue moss, the walls carved with pictographs depicting men transforming into snakes. At the tunnel's end stood an altar, and on that altar, a black egg-shaped stone pulsing with light, like a slow heartbeat. Blake whispered, "It's alive." Harker reached for it, and the stone responded. A thin slit opened across its surface, releasing a drop of glowing liquid. It touched his skin and burned, but the pain quickly faded into something else. He felt his pulse sync with the rhythm of the stone. He was no longer just hearing the jungle. He was understanding it. The jungle began to move. Trees swayed, though no wind blew. The ground trembled with low rhythmic vibrations. And then, a voice, "You awaken what must never rise." It wasn't sound, it was inside their minds. Filling the silence between heartbeats, Maria screamed and dropped to her knees, blood streaming from her nose. Blake's camera crackled with static, and Harker, trembling, sweating, whispered, "It's them, the protectors." He looked down, his veins glowed faintly gold beneath his skin, like liquid fire. They fled the tunnel in chaos. But outside, the jungle had changed. The trees seemed closer, the air shimmered like heat waves, and from the river, countless serpents emerged, not attacking, but forming a circle around the group. They raised their heads in unison, and in that instant, Harker collapsed. Maria held him, screaming, as his eyes turned gold, the same color as the orbs from the forest. The serpents didn't strike, they simply watched. And then, one by one, they slithered back into the dark water. When Harker stood again, his voice was not his own. "We were never alone," he said. "We were only sleeping." Over the next 3 days, Maria's journal tells a story no one believed. Harker began to change. He could sense movement miles away. He could predict the rain before it fell. And at night, he'd speak in a language she'd never heard. One that echoed like whispers through water. He said the Serpent clan had chosen him, that he had been marked as their last protector. Maria tried to flee, but the jungle never let her. Every path she took led her back to the same river, the same cliff, the same door. Until, on the 7th day, she returned to find Harker gone. In his place, a massive serpent coiled around the altar, its scales shimmering gold and black, its eyes burning with human sorrow. They say Maria escaped months later, her hair white as ash, her mind broken. But before she vanished into the city, she left behind a message carved into the wall of her hospital room. He guards them still, and one day when the gods return, he will rise again. The jungle forgets nothing. Time may bury bones, but not faith and not the gods. After Maria's escape, the valley disappeared from all maps. Satellite scans showed nothing but endless trees. Yet, for those who lived near the borders of Vale das Sombras, the nights began to change. The stars above the jungle twisted, rearranging into shapes resembling a coiled serpent. And from the deep, a sound began to echo, like a drum made of thunder. They called it the heart of the earth. In 2019, almost half a century later, a small team of Brazilian geologists established a temporary outpost near the Tapajós River. Their goal to study unexplained tremors that had begun rippling beneath the rainforest. Each tremor was rhythmic, precise, occurring every 88 minutes, like a heartbeat. Dr. Luciana Alves, the project's lead, dismissed the superstition. But one night, while reviewing the seismic data, she noticed something impossible. The frequency pattern matched a sound waveform recorded in 1974, the same year Samuel Harker vanished. It was hidden deep within government archives, labeled Audio Yara Unknown. Luciana replayed it. The tone was low, nearly inaudible. But when slowed down, it formed a pattern resembling a human voice, whispering in an ancient tongue. She sent the file to a linguist in São Paulo. He never replied. 2 days later, the outpost's satellite uplink captured something hovering above the valley. Not a storm, not a plane, a circular distortion in the sky, rotating slowly like a vortex of light. The last transmission from the station was a single phrase, "The heart is waking." Then, silence. At the 27-minute mark, the camera panned over the altar, and behind it, for a split second, a massive silhouette moved. It wasn't human. Scales shimmered like molten bronze. Eyes glowed like suns through the mist. And when it opened its mouth, you could hear the earth itself exhale. Renato paused the frame, zoomed in, and saw something on the creature's chest, a glowing mark shaped like a spiral of serpents, identical to the carving found in the soil 45 years earlier. At that moment, his screen flickered again, static. Then, a single image appeared, Harker's face. Older, hollow, his skin marked with golden veins. He looked straight into the camera. "They are not myths," he whispered. "They are guardians. And they are almost free." Then, the footage ended. Determined to uncover the truth, Renato hired 2 local trackers and followed the old coordinates left in the footage. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became. The jungle felt aware. On the 4th night, they found markings on the trees, spiral etchings burned into bark. And the next morning, they encountered them. The Serpent clan, barefoot, covered in body paint of shimmering green and gold. Their eyes were pale and unblinking. They didn't speak Portuguese. They hissed and chanted in tones that sounded like the wind through reeds. One woman, older than the rest, stepped forward. Her skin glowed faintly under the sunlight, as if dusted with metallic powder. She spoke a single word. Yara. Renato repeated it, trembling. The woman smiled, and then she said something else, this time in broken Portuguese. "The man who came before you, he still guards the gods." Renato froze. She was talking about Harker. The tribe led him through the forest until they reached a canyon hidden by fog. From above, it looked like a massive scar, a wound carved into the jungle. Within it stood colossal statues half buried in the earth, figures of serpents intertwined with human forms, their faces peaceful, their eyes closed. The woman gestured toward the largest statue. Its surface shimmered faintly as if alive. "They sleep," she said. "When the world forgets, they rest. But your kind is making the world remember." She placed her hand on Renato's chest, right over his heart. "The signal you seek is not from the earth, it is from beneath it." Renato felt it then, a pulse in the ground, syncing with his own heartbeat. He looked around and realized every statue vibrated faintly with each beat. And the sound, the seismic tremors scientists had been recording, were not earthquakes, they were breaths. The old woman told him of the cycle of the coils. Once every 1,000 years, the gods' guardians awaken to protect the balance of life. When mankind's greed pierces the earth too deep, the serpent gods stir. Their venom is not poison, it is memory. It flows into the ground, purging what must be forgotten, resetting the world to silence once again. Renato recorded her words. But when he asked who these gods were, she only pointed upward. "They were the first to fall from the sky," she said, "and the last who will return." That night, under a moon veiled by clouds, Renato woke to find the tribe gathered in silence around the altar. They were chanting low rhythmic serpentine. In the center stood a man, tall, thin skin, shimmering gold beneath his torn shirt. He turned slowly, his face hidden by shadows. When he spoke, Renato's blood turned cold. It was Harker. "The gods are stirring," he said, "and their protectors will rise again." Renato tried to step forward, but his body refused to move. The air itself felt heavy, vibrating with invisible energy. The statues around them began to hum, their eyes opening one by one, golden lights spilling out like liquid fire. The jungle trembled. The river reversed its course once more. "You awakened the signal," Harker said, smiling faintly. "Now the heart will open." The earth split open beneath the altar, revealing a glowing chasm. Within it, serpentine forms twisted through molten light, coiling upward like rivers of fire. The old woman raised her arms and shouted, "Yara, the cycle begins again." Renato screamed as the ground gave way. Harker reached out, his golden eyes calm. "Do not fear the gods," he said. "Fear what forgets them." Then everything vanished in a blinding flash. Weeks later, satellite imagery showed a massive crater where the valley once was. A perfect spiral shape. No signs of human life, only the sound of low-frequency vibrations captured by seismic sensors across South America. NASA labeled it anomalous magnetic resonance. Locals called it the Serpent's breath. Renato's body was never found, but months later, a fisherman downriver discovered something drifting in the water. A single obsidian stone carved with a glowing golden spiral. When he touched it, he claimed he heard a voice. Soft, patient, ancient, "The protectors are awake. The Amazon sleeps again." But the air carries something unseen, a pulse beneath the soil, like a whisper in the bones of the earth. Those who live along the Tapajos River say the nights have grown longer. Fires no longer burn the same, and when the wind moves through the canopy, it hisses like 1,000 serpents breathing as one. The old stories were right, the gods never died. They were simply waiting to be remembered. Months after the Vale das Sombras event, the Brazilian government dispatched a covert research team under the guise of an environmental restoration project. Their mission was to study the crater and contain whatever was left behind. They called it Operation Ouroboros, after the ancient symbol of a serpent eating its own tail. But when the first team arrived, their instruments failed instantly. Compasses spun, GPS signals vanished. And deep within the crater, the ground shimmered faintly, as if heat rose from beneath. Though the air was cold, the commander, Captain Miguel Rocha, recorded his final message in a voice log. His tone was calm, but in the background, a strange humming grew louder with every word. "We found a structure beneath the crater, not natural. It's made of black stone, smooth as glass, emitting low-frequency sound waves. The readings indicate it's alive, or reacting to us. Then static. The transmission cut off. The team never returned." Weeks later, seismographs across the Amazon basin began detecting pulses again, but this time they were in rhythm with the lunar cycle. Every full moon, a tremor would echo through the rainforest, and in remote villages, strange phenomena began. animals migrating toward the crater's direction, rivers changing color, turning a deep emerald hue, and sightings of glowing serpentine shapes beneath the water at night. News spread fast, but before journalists could investigate, the entire area was sealed off by military order. Yet footage leaked. A single drone video surfaced on the dark web, showing a field of trees moving as if breathing. And at the center, a massive stone pillar rising from the earth, its surface covered in glowing spiral symbols. The old woman from the Serpent clan, the Kuyara as she was called, appeared once more. Travelers reported seeing her walking along riverbanks, her body radiant in moonlight, her eyes glowing gold. She spoke to no one, but her presence caused strange effects. Fish would leap from the water, and the forest would fall silent wherever she passed. Those who followed her claimed to hear whispers, 1,000 voices speaking in harmony beneath the ground. When translated, those whispers formed a single phrase: "The cycle is complete. The gods return in flesh." Somehow, among the files salvaged from the Operation Ouroboros team, investigators found an encrypted message. Authored by Samuel Harker, it was dated only a few months before the final expedition vanished. To whoever finds this, the gods are not our enemies. They were placed here to keep balance. Every age forgets, and every age is reminded, "I have seen the truth. Their blood flows through the jungle itself. We are living in their body." The Amazon is not a forest. It is a god that breathes. He pauses, breathing heavily. The serpent mark is not a curse. It is a bond. Once you see it, it never leaves you. "I am no longer what I was. Soon, neither will you be." Then the recording ends, followed by a faint hiss, like a snake exhaling near the mic, rivers glimmering under full moons, birds flying in perfect spiral formations, stone carvings rising from the mud after rainstorms, ancient temples aligning with star patterns not seen in millennia. Scientists called it coincidence. Shamans called it prophecy. But deep in the data, something terrifying emerged. The pulse recorded beneath the Amazon matched a frequency pattern from deep space. It was identical to a cosmic signal detected from the Orion Belt decades earlier. That's when the world realized, whatever the serpent gods were, they weren't born on Earth. In 2023, astrophysicists from Chile discovered a sequence of repeating light bursts from a distant nebula. When decoded, they formed a spiral similar to the Serpent clan's sigil. It was as if the pattern itself had been carved into the stars. The Kujara once said, "They were the first to fall from the sky." Now, the evidence suggested she was right. What if the gods were an ancient civilization? A bioorganic intelligence that descended to Earth before human memory? Binding itself to the planet, merging with it, protecting it, until humanity forgot their purpose. In Brazil, deforestation teams began reporting mysterious incidents. Workers found their arms and faces marked by glowing patterns after contact with strange vines. Doctors called it chemical burns. But the marks were perfect spirals, the serpent seal. Victims claimed to hear voices in their dreams. One survivor's final words before disappearing were recorded by hospital staff. "They are calling us home." By 2025, satellite data revealed that a section of the Amazon canopy, over 1,200 square kilometers, had shifted overnight. The trees realigned into a vast spiral visible from orbit. Government agencies denied it, but leaked images confirmed the pattern resembled the Ouroboros sigil once more. Then came the transmission, an open-frequency broadcast originating from deep within the forest. In an ancient, unrecorded dialect, linguists struggled to decode it. When slowed down and reversed, the message revealed 5 haunting words. "The Guardians have taken form." The final sighting came from a satellite feed 2 weeks later. It captured a beam of emerald light erupting from the Amazon basin, piercing the clouds like a column of living flame. For 7 minutes, all radio signals across South America failed. When the skies cleared, witnesses described massive shapes moving through the mist. Not machines, not storms, but colossal serpentine beings, their bodies glowing like rivers of molten metal, sliding through the air silently. The footage was suppressed within hours, but fragments leaked. You can still find them online. Shaky, blurred, but the sound, that deep, rhythmic hum, like the earth itself breathing, it was the same sound Samuel Harker recorded in 1974. Today, decades later, no one enters the Vale da The jungle has reclaimed it all. But sometimes, explorers claim to find golden scales scattered in the mud, still warm to the touch. And once in a generation, a child is born in nearby villages, with eyes the color of sunlight through leaves, and a spiral birthmark over their heart. The elders say these are the new serpent guardians, not chosen by gods, but reborn from them. The legend endures, whispered by those who dare to listen. The world believes the gods are gone. But beneath the forest floor, the earth still hums, steady, patient, alive. The gods never left, the Kuyara once said. It was we who forgot how to hear them. Maybe the question isn't whether the serpent gods are real, maybe it's whether we ever truly stopped worshipping them. Without even knowing it,